Okay, hi, intermediate algebra. We're going to pick up with 9.2, which is rational exponents. Rational is the fancy word for fraction. So we're going to look at exponents that are fractions. That's what this section's about. Okay, but before I do that, let's just review the rules real quick with exponents. So if I say x squared times x to the third, what's the operation we do there? Good, we add the exponents. So it's 2 plus 3, so it's x to the fifth, right? So when they're neighbors, you add their exponents, right? So you get x to the fifth. When you have one base and two exponents, when you have one base and two exponents, that's the case where we do what? Right? We multiply. So that's going to be x to the sixth. Okay? So when it's two bases, two exponents, they're neighbors, you add. One base, two exponents, you're going to multiply. All right, so now we're just going to move this up into it being fractional exponents or rational exponents. All right, so something similar to the first case we just did, but I'm going to make them fractions. Okay, so this is similar, not the same, but similar to what I just did. So I have two bases, two exponents, they're neighbors, so for me to combine them I have to add the exponents, just like we did up here. You add the exponents. It's just that they're fractions. So since they're fractions, I now actually have to get a LCD. Good, I have to get an LCD, right? So the LCD here is 6, so I have to make them both 6. Three over 6 plus 2 over 6 is going to be x is 5 over 6, right? Since they're fractions, you have to do the LCD on them, right? You have to LCD them so that you can add them. All right, now I'm going to make one that's similar to this one, but with rational exponents. Okay, so again, it's one base, two exponents. The operation is to multiply in that case. So we're going to multiply. So we're going to have 1/2 times 1/3. Now, when you're multiplying fractions, you don't need an LCD. You can just multiply them. So this is going to be x to the 1/6. Please do not convert the fractions into radicals, because fractions are a different form of writing a radical, so please don't convert them out. So what I'm saying is, like, this is the same thing as saying the 6th root of x. This is the same thing as saying the this is the 6th root to the 5th power. 5th power on this. Let me just write it over again. This one here is the 6th power to the, sorry, I did it again. 5th power to the 6th root. Okay, so these can be converted into radicals, but I don't want you to do that. I want you to leave the final answer as in fractional form. All right, let's do some more now. So now here, just like you would always do, if you had something that was had more in the denominator, right, you would always do the highest minus the lowest. So this would be 1 over x to the 6, right? It's highest minus lowest. So the leftover would be in the bottom. Same idea here. 5 slices. So if you have a pizza that has 6 parts, 5 of the 6 parts is much bigger than 1 out of the 6 parts. Somebody who eats 5 slices of pizza out of 6 ate a lot more than 1 slice out of 6, right? So this is the higher amount. So it's the higher minus the lower. So I'm going to do 5 over 6 minus 1 over 6. I'm going to get 4 over 6. Okay, that's going to reduce to 2 over 3. So it means that when I reduce this, I do the higher minus the lower, it's going to leave me with 2/3 in the bottom, in the denominator. Higher minus lower, put the leftover where the higher was, because that's where the leftover would go. Okay, now this guy has a bunch of negatives, so I'm going to start to get rid of the negatives. I'm going to start with the negative inside. So let's move that guy down. Remember, if something's negative, we're going to move it to the other side. Now there's nothing left. There's nothing left in the numerator, so I'm going to make it a 1. Okay, now let's get rid of this guy. So this means we flip the whole thing. Right, so the bottom comes up. You don't need to write this over 1. And then this was the rule we were doing earlier. When you have 2 bases, 1 exponent, you multiply. Same idea. So for the first one, it's 1/4 times 4. 1/4 times 4, which is 1. So it's u to the 1. U to the 1, because it's 1/4 times 4. The other one, it's 3/2 times 4. Some of you like to multiply first to do 12 over 2 and then get 6. I like to reduce first, but it doesn't matter. T to the 6th. So it's u to the 1st, t to the 6th. And you don't need to write the 1. That's assumed. You don't need to write the 1 here. That's assumed it's a 1 if it's not there. Okay, let's keep going. Now I'm going to make a suggestion here. The coefficients are sort of difficult to do as radicals. So I'm going to suggest that you convert them out of form and then put them back. So like everybody here has to be raised to the 2/3. All of them have to be raised to the 2/3, but the number is particularly difficult. So let me just start with I guess the other ones first maybe. All right, and then I'll come back to the 125. So here we go. So we'll do 9 times the 2 over 3. So that's 18 over 3, which is 6. So it becomes a to the 6, because you got to multiply the 9 times the 2/3. Same thing here. To find the b, you got to multiply the 1/4 times the 2/3. So 1/4 times the 2/3 is 2 over 12, or 1 over 6. Okay, so b to the 1 over 6. All right, now this part, like I said, is the most difficult, so let me do this on the side. So it's going to end up being 125 to the 2/3. But most of us can't. This looks a little weird to do in our head. If you can do it in your head, it's fine, go for it. But this would be the same thing as saying the cube root of 125. It doesn't matter if you square it first or cube it first, but it's always easier to do the root before the power. So I would always do this before this versus that before that. But it doesn't matter which way you do it, but I would suggest always do the bottom first. All right, so what's the cube root of 125? So it's a number that you need 3 times that makes 125. So it's a number 3 times, triplets, that makes 125. Good, it's 5, and then 5 squared is 25. Okay, so this means this is going to be a 25 up here. The 125 to the 2/3 is 25. Okay, let's try another one. Feel free at any point to like pause these and try it yourself and then see how I did it. You know, feel free to always do that, because you really learn better if you try it first and then you see how I did it. All right, so I'm going to get rid of the negative first, so I'm going to bring this guy down. Doesn't matter where you put them, just as long as you bring them down. All right, now these two are sitting together, so they combine. These two are sitting across, so they reduce. All right, these two you combine, they're sitting next to each other. So you got 4, and now you have 8. So all together you have 12. You have more on the bottom, so always do the higher minus the lower. So we'll do 5 minus 3, so that's 2. It means the 2's left over in the bottom. All right, I'm going to do the exponents again first. They're a little easier. So this is the case again when you're raising an exponent to an exponent, okay? If you're confused, let me see if I can quickly find it. Right, that's the case where you're raising an exponent to an exponent. That's this case again. Exponent raised to an exponent. Okay, so exponent raised to an exponent. So 12 times 3 over 2 is 36 over 2, which is 18. This is going to be c to the 18. And we do the same thing for the D. You got to do 2 times that. So 2 times 3 over 2, 6 over 2 is 3. So D to the 3. And again, for the numbers, the coefficients, I tend to pull them out of form. It's a little easier for most people. So 16 to the 3 over 2. Again, it's easier to do the bottom, the denominator before the numerator. So it's easier to do the square root first and then cube it versus cubing and then square rooting. You get the same answer, but this is easier. Okay, so then this square root of 16 is 4, and 4 cubed is 64. All right, so this is 64. All right, so just to say this one more time, this is more of like a test level question. I would get rid of all the negatives first. If it's on the same side, you're combining. If it's on opposite sides, you're reducing. And then, so now you're raising an exponent to an exponent, so you multiply. You can convert the fractional exponent on the coefficients to radicals to help you simplify it. And then you just put your answer there when you're done. Okay, last little thing here I want to go over with you guys is just to be careful with the negatives. Okay, so the exponents, remember the exponents do not include anything in front of it. So this exponent doesn't include the negative. The exponent sees it like this, like it's just on this guy. So it's going to take, this is like taking the square root of 49 and then multiplying it by negative. That's what you're doing here. So this would be negative 7. If the negative is in the exponent, that's different. That means you first have to flip it, right? The negative exponent means flip it. And then after you flip it, so you flip it, and then after you flip it, then you can simplify it. So it's going to give you very different answers depending on where the negative is. So just be aware of that and watch out for it. Okay. That's a wrap on 9.2. I'll give you some homework and let you try it. I hope this is going really well for you. Okay, we're going to make it through this. Okay, catch you soon. Bye-bye.